What is like the one narrative that you're the most bullish on? Do you
So-
see Ethereum waking up, essentially?
So I experience this shit show, every 4 years.
Welcome, everybody. Today is about learning how to think like a VC. What is the current state of the market, and what are the narratives that we all should be thinking about? Full disclosure, let's get the formalities out of the way. None of this is going to be investment advice, and our work here, it's personal, set aside from our work within the jobs that we do. For instance, for me, I work at Certic, so this is completely separate of my day-to-day job at Certic. With that said, I'd like to introduce you guys to three amazing panelists. Mike from Deep Ventures, early investors in Arweave. Caleb from Big Brain Holdings, also investors in Arweave, amongst a lot of other projects like Solana and Near, to name a few. And Edison from Web3.com Ventures, family office that has invested in Hashkey, as well as Animoco Brands. So very smart, talented guys. I'm going to do my best to keep up with you all. Welcome, gentlemen. Let's start off with just on a macro level. What are you guys seeing in terms of the market? Obviously, we're trading sideways here. It's kind of this boring phase of the market. Some people say sell in May, go away, because nothing really happens along the late spring, summertime. People just leave. Maybe they go on vacation. What are you guys thinking in terms of the market here within the next 2-3 months? Start with you, Mike.
Yeah, it is a very strange market. I think we saw a ton of price increase from the Bitcoin ETFs, and then was expected this kind of huge explosion, and then a lot of hype around the halving, and then I think people expected even more of an explosion, but we haven't really seen that. So kind of hoping that we over the next 2-3 months or so, we get a little bit more of a catalyst into the markets. But yeah, it's kind of a weird bull market ish, and it's kind of hard to explain because we've had so many catalysts in the first quarter. But yeah, we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, because it's a little weird to me, to be honest.
Yeah, it almost feels like it's not really a bull market, right? Because there's this whole question around, is the retail here? Is it not here? It's really hard to say. I feel like it comes in waves. Edison, what do you think?
I think we're experiencing a small correction, and I think is all right. I feel like back in February, I was like talking to my friend. I was like, "Oh, this is happening, way too. I'm not prepared for this bull market yet." And in terms of primary market, I think most deals are overvalued, and a few narratives to look out for. It'll be like BTCL2s, I guess AI/crypto. I feel like in this market we'll definitely see a top 10 AI, like a AI coin that will be in the top 10 in terms of market cap. And maybe staking, but I think airdrop season is over. I believe the first wave is really sometimes powered by first airdrop, as well as the expectations of institution money, which is ETF. But that is gone, right? So, yeah, we're experiencing a small correction. I believe that we can take a slow prime market. I think the deals being done is like there's a lot of deals being done for the past few weeks, and I expect the prime market to be very active in the coming weeks. So yeah.
Okay, you touched on a lot of points that we're going to go into a little bit deeper, but it sounds like what you're saying, this correction that we're experiencing, it sounds like you're saying this is normal, this is part of the process, and there's really no need to be alarmed by anything.
And I don't think retail is back yet, in my opinion, if you look at some of the figures. Yeah.
Got it. What about you, Caleb? What are your thoughts? Is the retail here? Is it not? And just overall, this sideways trend that we're in right now, do you anticipate that this will continue for the next few months? What do you make of it?
So I would say that we're certainly in the latter half of the adoption curve with the onset of US Bitcoin ETFs. And especially like right now, in this time of like stagflation, people are looking for like a major hedge on inflation, which is inherently in Bitcoin, right? In other assets like Ethereum, you see BlackRock, they just did the securitized deal. They're looking into tokenization a lot more. And so we're starting to see institutions finally coming in with a lot of capital and even looking to potentially innovate on top of these layers to meet their own needs, right? So I think that's like really important and was the key driver to, kind of where we're at in the market today. In terms of retail adoption, there's like a few catalysts there as well. We have Berachain coming out soon. We have Monad coming out soon, right? Bunch of new highly valued projects are coming to market soon, and that will be like the testing grounds to see, is retail here? Are they interested in these new coins? Um, and so I think there's still a lot of room to grow. Performance in the next few months is hard to calculate, but I'm just like a mega bull. Like, ultimately, like we're gonna keep going higher. It's gonna be a bit choppy along the way, but ultimately still very bullish on the space and think there's a lot of tailwinds to come.
So, what do you guys think will be the ultimate catalyst for this? Obviously, it's the election year. We have the ETFs. So maybe this is a good segue into what EDISON, where you are in terms of Hong Kong, and then Mike, you're in the DC area. So I feel like we can get some really good perspectives on this. EDISON, what's the impact of the Hong Kong ETFs you feel like on the market?
I think Believe is a great gateway for a lot of on-chain whales to basically potentially delegate their on-chain assets to certain asset managers. And when I talk about these on-chain whales, I'm not just talking about like Hong Kong-based on-chain whales. I'm talking about Chinese, right? I think most of these liquidity in Hong Kong is driven by the Chinese market, right? In China, and what we see is that if certain institution, if they can obtain the SFC, the number 9 license, they can basically manage on-chain wealths. Um, what that means is that a lot of whales can delegate their wealth to these on-chain asset managers, and they can basically do businesses with a private European bank, let's say Julius Baer, a certain Swiss bank. And in the past, a lot of these whales cannot basically cash out their crypto in size. But with this ETF approval, I think most, I guess, normies will be like, oh, that means institution money are coming in. And that's a fact. But it's also a way for whales to cash out their on-chain wealth in size and store it in, like, I don't know, like a Swiss private bank via like ETF and various asset managers, traditional asset managers. And it's like, I don't know, storing certain on-chain wealth and I guess changing it to European dollar and having that in a Swiss bank account, which is, I don't know, very private, is definitely another like safe haven to basically store the wealth. So yeah, that's my take. I won't say it's good or bad, but it's another way for on-chain wealth to asset manage the wealth. Um, and in terms of ETF, you see is like really just open up for big players, for institutions, not for really for retail. So it really, I know the demand is really driven by how institution come in, and that usually takes time. So I think people are expecting a lot more, but in reality, is that like the short term impact is not that like significant, and but at the same time, I feel like we underestimate the long term impact it will bring. So yeah, that's my take.
And I think that's spot on based on previous cycles. We've always see this hype and anticipation, especially from retail, about the halving event, and they expect things to be, go parabolic right away when things take time, right? This whole process of it being deflationary, supply and demand, all that takes time. Mike, I want to ask you this question because you're in the DC area and you do some networking. What do you hear from just folks within the crypto industry? Like, how are they looking at regulation, and is this going to be the catalyst that we need to kind of get away from this sideways trend that we're in?
Oh man, yeah, I'm in DC, so I experience this shit show, every 4 years. And uh, you know, this election year has, there's always a lot riding, always on the line every 4 years, but like this one feels really different in the sense that, I mean, just preface everything, politics conversations never end well. So I'm just gonna throw these ideas out there, right? Like you've got someone in office now, Biden, who, maybe not explicitly says that he's against crypto, but obviously letting the SEC regulate through punishment, and so you can take that for what it's worth. You've got Trump, who recently said that he would, be able to, he would accept donations in crypto, and he would support crypto. If you believe, anything that man says, cool. And then you've got RFK, who is a huge supporter at crypto. He's been the speaker at all these big crypto conferences like Denver and now Consensus in a few weeks. And but does he really have a chance to win? We don't know. My take is that, I don't have any insider information, but I know that there are many, many people working to educate our Congress people and to get everyone smarter. We do have some people within Congress who are supporters. I think it's still going to take a long time, but we are all in this together, and I think it's just a matter of educating on what is kind of logical, practical ways to approaches to regulation, and hopefully getting to a place where working together more with the government as opposed to the government just dropping hammers on things, because it's just the U.S. just doesn't have clarity. No one knows how to operate a protocol in the U.S. But we've got just a lot of builders here, a lot of innovators here, and no one really wants to leave. But that's kind of what the result has been. A lot of the talent has gone overseas. So long road, but I think we'll get there.
So sounds like what you're saying from an election perspective, politics aside, but looks like Biden administration not so crypto friendly, Trump and RFK potentially a lot more crypto friendly, and you have all these Wells notices and all of these attacks on Uniswap and Robinhood and Coinbase, of course. So perhaps having a different administration is what it'll take in order for us to turn the page and get past these types of attacks within our industry. I want to shift the conversation a little bit to something that Caleb, you mentioned earlier in terms of like some of the big projects that are coming out, and we'll see if retail is going to be in it. Like you mentioned Monad, which I know is very highly anticipated. Do you think that retail has been kind of scared a little bit from the entire situation? And what I'm trying to get to is, we obviously know the importance of VCs in this space and the support they give to this, very technical landscape that we're in. But there was a little bit of kind of uncertainty with what happened with Eigen Layer, and those guys are smart, right? They're brilliant, but there seems to be some bad publicity around how they handled their launch. Do you think that this will stop retail from wanting to participate with these highly anticipated projects like Monad?
I mean, money does not come as easily as it did in the past, and that's just a fact. Like, you used to be able to just type some words in a Discord channel and you get airdropped like thousands of dollars, or just link up an ENS name and get like $10,000, right? Like, it was just crazy. And airdrops are still really important because the network has zero value to it if there's not a large distribution of holders. But it's certainly evolving. Like right now, like for example, with airdrops, a lot of the times, like you're taxed on the airdrop based off of the exchange value at the time you get it. So it kind of just encourages people to sell right away if they want to de-risk the potential extra taxes they need to pay if the token goes down and they decide to sell, or if the token goes down in general, because they owe that tax. And so like people are trying to figure out ways to go around this a bit. But yeah, some people are saying it's the end of the points era. I don't know. I think people are still going to, be dishing out points in various ways, and it's just not going to be as much money as people would have hoped, but it's going to be probably better yield than you'd get on like the S&P. And I think that's good enough for now. What I will say though is I think that like retail is gravitating more towards the likes of platforms like Pump.fun, where you can just launch a meme coin in seconds and buy various meme coins that your friends are buying, and think of things in like a more peer-to-peer economy like that, like more of like an internet sort of fun way. I guess like the thesis for something like a Monad would be like, oh, I want to use Ethereum, I have a MetaMask, but it's just way too expensive. And instead of having to get a Phantom wallet this cycle, you can just stick to your MetaMask and just switch to the RPC. So yeah, I mean, my main thesis there is just that retail is the one that experiments the most at first. And so with these new chains coming out, those should be the people who gravitate towards it the most. So we'll see how that thesis plays out. But these are some super powerful infrastructure coming out in the coming months, and I don't think you can discount that at all.
Yeah, you definitely can't argue about the tech. Edison, what are your thoughts? This whole situation with Eigen Layer. Do you think it's going to turn off a lot of the retail from wanting to participate with some of these big anticipated projects that are coming out?
Yeah, I think it's about the, I guess, mismatch of expectation and reality. But I think point system is a great system. It provides projects a lot of adaptability. I think points is at least here to stay for the cycle. But I think most retail, they turn their heads towards meme coin because they resonate with it. It's like we're living in this attention economy. And for some certain infra projects, you also need good narrative, right? Let's say the fastest chain. You also need a narrative on top of the infra if you want the token to trade well. And because a lot of incremental innovation, let's say, or certain hardware, because I'm in a venture arm, but we also have hardware business. I think retail cannot resonate with like some projects that is like hardware focused. Let's say CKP, or it just slowly becomes a narrative and how you can gravitate the attention towards you. But I think a lot of CK projects that we invested in the bear are not picking up a lot of they're not getting enough attention, and I feel like it's due to the fact that retail cannot resonate with it. And also same with AI, we have like a lot of great projects doing a I guess AI AI crossover crypto projects, like say inference, decentralized compute. We also invest in our.net. But I think decentralized compute might be a bit too early. But I think for more like if like the retail can experience the AI in the loop, then that will be that might be a more attractive narrative. For example, AI assistant or AI agents or AI companions like my shell that's more consumer orientated. Then I believe that can um, uh, mm, they can generate more traction when they launch a token. So yeah, I think that's also one of the reasons why I guess meme coins getting a lot more attention. And for Monad, it's clear, right? It's also they know how to build narrative on top of the good tech. So yeah.
Mike, what about yourself? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I got a couple of thoughts. I think going back to your, uh, the whole Eigen Layer issue and retail kind of versus VC, if you want to put it that way, which I don't think is so at all. I think retail is getting smarter in look and checking of when their token unlocks happening and reacting to that. I think there are more tools out there that track that stuff, and that's become a little more of a thing that retail stays on top of. But in terms of like VC, we I'm going to defend us a little bit, right? We we invest in these projects, before anyone has heard of them, right? Like Eigenlayer, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years ago or something like that, right? And when sometimes these are just like twinkles in the founder's eyes, where it may be just an idea or just a white paper or something like that before there's a product, before there's anywhere to deposit any money. So, there's that lag, and then once the tokens get to market, their vesting schedules over through 2, 3, 4 years, right? So it is VCs take a very long term view on some of these projects, and we have to sit through a lot, have our money locked up in these projects, and for potentially 5, 6 years. So there's a lot of risk that we take with money, before the projects get to market, before it gets launched. So it's a different type of risk, but there is absolutely high level of risk nonetheless. So it's definitely not something that is VCs versus retail. It's like our jobs are to find these companies at the very early stages, help them along, and get them to market, and then I think hopefully everyone wins in the end when great products to market and grow and bring in the community, and everyone wins. So I think it's just different profiles, different timing, and yeah, I think everyone's kind of in it together.
Thanks for that, Mike. And that's why I prefaced by saying that we obviously all understand the importance of having VCs in the space and the support that they provide. You look at two ecosystems that are, as of right now, headed in different directions. You have Solana, which has a lot of VCs, and then you also have Cardano, right? Very smart technical guys, but there's not a lot of VC presence there, and that's probably for specific reasons. but from in terms of development, it looks like they're headed in two different directions. This is not a knock on the Cardano family, so please don't come after me. But I'm just saying what the current status is as of right now. Right, there's just a lot of attention, a lot of excitement around Solana. A lot of it is retail, of course, and meme coin focused, but there's also strong narratives around DeepIn, which we can dive into in a little bit. But there's all that to say. There's VCs play an important role within the space. And speaking of VCs, so I saw this morning, and I don't know if this is old news or not, but Pantera came out and they said that they have made an investment into TON, and they have it's their largest investment so far. And that kind of got me thinking, why are they so bullish on TON specifically? And it made me wonder, are we reaching a point where traditionally would have a product, you create a product and then you launch it, right? And now in the case of TON, are we seeing a shift where you need to have a community first before you create a product? Caleb, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a good question. I mean, TON has definitely had a bit of a shaky, come up. At first, it was mined by pretty much just only insiders and had a terrible distribution. So kind of like tapping on what I said earlier, like you really need like a near uniform distribution, or just a lot of holders in general to have a successful cryptocurrency network, which it just didn't have. I believe it was February. Correct me if I'm wrong. They decided to freeze a certain percentage of the supply in order that remained stagnant. And so I think I forget what percent that was. It might have been 20%, maybe more. And so that's like a decent chunk of the supply that was kind of just sitting around, held by a small group of insiders that is now frozen for 4 years. And that kind of positioned TON well to kind of like start building up a more like safer ecosystem during this cycle. And so, you have that combined with the distribution from the apps and like all the other clients that Telegram has. And, you're seeing a strong push from the foundation. I know a bunch of other VCs aside from Pantera who have been super bullish on this for a while now. And I think it's probably going to, continue doing well as the rest of the market is. The other thing is, though, that you can build an app on Telegram that hits pretty much any other chain. Look at Bonkbot, for example, right? So that's not necessarily like the biggest moat, or it's not as big a moat as people think necessarily. But you do have that embedded wallet, which is pretty powerful in and of itself. I would say that people are definitely getting more innovative on the go-to-market, though. Just going back to your question, you're seeing some protocols like let's look at Blast. Like Blast is just like, okay, we'll just give you yield before we make our L2, and we're just gonna bootstrap it that way. Athena also has an interesting go-to-market, right? I was talking to another founder who built out like this delta neutral strategy, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna make a cryptocurrency exchange out of this after we get all this TVL together. So it's like people are getting more crafty with it, and I love to see it.
Edison, what are your thoughts? I mean, TON is pretty much Telegram, and they've got so many users, and it seems like a very easy transition, right? Do you think, a big catalyst for why Pantera made the investment that they did? Is that something that we need to be looking out for moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's a pure, I guess, UI UX play, the user journey. I think they're taking more like a mobile first approach, given that like I guess most crypto native or most developed countries, I guess we have laptops, right? But for less developed countries, let's say Southeast Asia, Latin America, they don't have laptops, so it's like they only have mobile. It's not no mobile first, but mobile only. And Telegram definitely makes it very accessible. And of course, you have a wallet built in. I think the investment might also be the fact that they did not invest into Farcaster. I guess DGen, such as like you can create with frames, you can create all these mini apps in Farcaster. And Farcaster is basically an app. It's super friendly in terms of the UI UX aspects, and that really picked up a lot of traction. And Pantera did not make a bet on that. And the next logical bet, if you want to bet on mobile first applications to onboard users, will be TON, right? I think currently there's a few apps that are on TON, but it's a little bit scrappy at the moment. But we can see how this plays out, I think. And I guess also the identity. If you see different chains, I think it has its own inherent identity tied towards it. For instance, like Base is a consumer chain. Ethereum is more research driven. I think the Uniswap moment kicked off the DeFi moment for Ethereum. And then, yeah, it's like I think Ton lacks. I need to work on basically building the identity. What kind of app makes sense to build on top of them? And like Caleb mentioned, I think bomb bots might also be another reason why. If you look at the revenue, just pure fees that a bomb bot is able to generate, is very lucrative. So yeah, I think you can. I think these pointers are the reason why Pantera made the investment to Ton. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with BonkBot. I'll have to check that out for sure. Mike, what are your thoughts on the whole Ton investment and how we should be looking at even from a retail perspective, how should retail users should be looking at these projects that are coming onto the scene?
Yeah, coming from a marketing community background, I'm going to be the first one to say that build community early as possible, pre-product, during product, after product, all the time. And I think the biggest reasons why Pantera may have in tons because they've just got massive distribution through the app. And in Web3, where the technology, it's always important to have strong technology, but this stuff is open sourced, it can get forked. So technology almost can't be a moat. And the community and the distribution is. And to piggyback a little bit what Caleb was saying, it's like if you take a chain, L1, L2, whatever it may be, yeah, the go-to-market has been flipped on its head, right? Traditionally, it was, okay, we got this chain, let's get developers, and then let's have the developers build the dApps, and then those end users will come use those dApps, and that's how we kind of build that end user. Now it's like Blast, Manta. It's like, okay, lock funds, promise yield. Now get a ton of TVL, and then now, oh, hey, developers, look, we've got all these users, we've got all this TVL. Now come build, right? So it's been flipped on its head, and well, it remains to be seen. I think to how long that stuff will last, and but it has worked for multiple chains very well. So yeah, I think bottom line is find ways to build that community. Before you build the product, while you're building the product, keep them engaged, and because that's your most. It's been said a million times. It's cliche, but that's what's going to be your mode, and that's what's going to bring you success is your community and distribution.
And it seems like we're reaching a point in the market where consumer applications is the main focal point. During the bear market, a lot of people were looking at the infrastructure plays, and now it's more about the consumer applications. So with that said, let's transition a little bit to narratives. And I want to hear from the narrative that you're the most bullish on. So rather than giving me a list, I want to hear one, and I want to know why are you most bullish on that narrative moving forward for the rest of the cycle. So I'll start with you, Caleb. What is like the one narrative that you're the most bullish on?
It'd have to be AI. There's a lot of areas we can, like, subsectors of AI that we can touch on, but I would say just looking at where it's at today, it's obviously like a pretty easy one to back at the moment. But I'll say even on the private side, a lot of the interesting deals that I'm seeing are within AI. It could be like monetizing open source models. It could be decentralized data labeling, and decentralized compute, might also fall under that, that vertical in the realm of like decentralized training, decentralized inference. And I think that just AI is just going to keep becoming more and more crazy. We honestly haven't seen the half of it yet. And I think crypto is poised to just pick up a lot of that mind share and potentially make AI a lot safer than it is today if it's siloed. I mean, listen, Sam Altman is just blatantly talking about how he's gunning towards AGI right now, and GPT-4 still sucks, is what he says. So like, I just think it's going to be crazy, and crypto is just very well positioned to capture a lot of that value in meaningful and narrative friendly ways.
Now, are you more bullish on the decentralized AI or more so on the infrastructure that is designed to support decentralized AI? So more of the DePIN side.
Yeah, it's a good question. Definitely like on the infrastructure side, I think that, I mean, the thing that I'm most interested in right now is like how how do you, best coordinate developers to open source their models? Like how do you best influence them to open source their models in a way that they also still see value brought back to them? Because it's like, not your models, not your mind, right? If we're constantly querying these models, but we don't know what's in them, and we don't have smart people to dig into the GitHub repos, then we're going to start losing our minds, more so than we already do with all like the TikTok algorithms and stuff. And so I think that's a very valuable uh, piece of technology that's being built right now. Um, so yeah, just looking forward to seeing how more AI researchers are iterating on that level of decentralized infra. I mean, I've just met with a ton of really smart people, really smart AI researchers, really smart PhDs, you know, that studied under the likes of Ben Gio, like the Turing Award winner in AI, and they're all like gunning towards building in this category. So I'm just following where the smart people are going, and I'm fascinated by it so far.
Give us a project. Give us a name that you're really excited about in Web3.
Ooh, I mean, I like BitTensor. That's already out. In terms of like the private market, I can't speak of on that yet, but there's a lot of exciting stuff coming out soon.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of digging into BitTensor, and there's a few interesting applications like Corcel, which is like a decentralized chat GPT. I talked to, I have Patrick on my YouTube channel quite a bit, and we always talk about the different types of AI models, and and just the value proposition of decentralized AI versus your traditional model, and how it essentially creates an economy, whereas AI in general is designed to exterminate job opportunities. But in a decentralized model, it essentially creates an economy so people can still make a living. So I always thought that's a very interesting value proposition, and can understand why that's on your top of your list, Caleb. What about you, Edison? What are your thoughts? What's the one narrative that you're the most bullish on?
Yeah, I think same as Caleb, AI. Mike, you is like I hope that you say something different, but for me, it's AI. So yeah, I mean, if you look at blockchain, it's really just it's just an incentive layer. I think it's like I think the bread and butter of AI is the data you feed into it. So I guess blockchain creates another layer where we can have do data sharing, data labeling, or certain like marketplaces. Another aspect will be, I guess, applying AI into crypto. It could be, let's say, task-oriented AI agents where it abstracted away a lot of friction from the in the user journey. Could be trading, could be cross-chain. Yeah. So yeah, that's my take on AI in crypto.
So Caleb gave us a name. He said BitTensor, which I think is a really good one. Can you give us another one?
I think Alora and Sahara are both in the primary market. Yeah.
Aurora is it's a time sensory model, right? So it's essentially for day traders, or am I completely off on that?
No, it's like I guess it's more like a training model. Yeah, self-training model. And then Sahara is like Sahara.
All right, thanks, Mike. I know that you're the third one, so you're gonna have to come up with some new information.
I, I want to just point about crypto and AI, and then I'll give my other one, which actually Edison already talked a little bit about before, so I can't come up with anything new now. But like, so yeah, the way I categorize it is like two big buckets: is AI helping crypto. So like we talked about trading agents, AI for like smart contract audits and things along those lines, where yeah, AI is helping crypto because there's these models that are readily available, and there's a lot of this blockchain data that is already out there and open and easily accessible. So I think that category we're going to see more adoption sooner. Those products are a little bit easier to build. There's less network effects necessary there, and those can get to market. And then you go into crypto helping AI, which is like the decentralized model marketplaces, the decentralized compute, where I think in the end those are going to be it's going to be many years before there's true adoption there, because there's just a lot more human coordination around those. But I think those are going to be like super impactful. With what I'm looking at that is outside of crypto and AI is Bitcoin. I just think that we've got this G chain that is people are actually building on now. The activity there is ridiculous. We've made a couple of investments in that space. Ordinals kicked that off a year and a half ago, but now there's like I heard there's like 70 plus L2s being built. There's bridges to everywhere. And then all of those ecosystems need to be built up with those primitives like the stablecoin, perp exchanges, etc. Right? So not just the L2s that are being built there and all that, but like everything within those ecosystems are all going to be built up. So I liken it to everything that was being built on Ethereum in 2018, 2019, 20 is being built on Bitcoin now, and they're to move faster because they've made a lot of mistakes in Ethereum and take all those learnings over them. And it remains to be seen. There's whatever the market cap is now of all of that is sitting on the sidelines. It kind of remains to be seen how much of that comes ecosystem in terms of staking and deploying. But yeah, I mean, I think that ecosystem is.
Do you think that it's here to stay, or do you think that it currently has the spotlight? Because right now Bitcoin has the spotlight, right? Because everyone's looking at Bitcoin and wondering, when is it going to start, going up again? And in the meantime, all the altcoins, they seem to be bleeding out. I mean, they have their days, but for the most part, right now they don't have the spotlight. So my question to you, Mike, is this? Do you think that narrative is here to stay?
Yeah, I mean, the growth in developers on Bitcoin has been just insane. So that I see that as what's going to drive that ecosystem forward more than the price and all that kind of stuff. Certainly there's no doubt that the macro market and the public markets drive that, but I think it's just you just can't deny the builder activity on Bitcoin right now, and just this past so many products, L2s and other products and bridges have raised a lot of money to be able to build their teams and continue building over the next few years. So I think we continue to see an explosion of activity. Once all those primitives are built out, and when that liquidity flows in there, it's by far, and I think we'll see a ton of that flow into all the FI and everything that's happening Bitcoin.
All right. So the Bitcoin narrative, I like it. What about the altcoins? When you look at the large cap, and I know Ethereum is not, I mean, technically, I guess it's an altcoin, but a lot of people are not looking at Ethereum as an altcoin. But it's pretty safe to say that it hasn't really been having a lot of excitement around it. Edison, you mentioned that it's more like research based. I mentioned that Solana is more retail based. There's a lot of meme coin activity there. Ultimately, moving forward, I mean, do we see Ethereum have more excitement around it, or can it grow at a faster pace than Solana? Do you envision that happening? I'll start with Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like in terms of your question was on Ethereum, yes?
Yeah. Do you see Ethereum waking up essentially?
I mean, absolutely. So and this kind of ties more into like my thesis on like institutions in general coming in. Like Ethereum is expensive, and it's not super retail friendly, and like compared to like Solana and maybe Monad and some other chains that are coming out, right? But it is the most secure, and I think you see that highlighted by Eigen Layer protocol that is trying to distribute that security to bootstrap other protocols, right? So who's willing to pay that premium, are the likes of BlackRock and other institutions that want to tokenize, different things. So, I think we'll see it start to wake up on that front as well. And then, once you get the ETH ETF coming in, you'll eventually see the same treatment that Bitcoin got, I would say.
So Ethereum or Asana for the rest of the cycle?
Well, I mean, I'm a big Solana bull personally, and like as a fund, I think that Solana definitely has the most upside by far this cycle. Not financial advice, but comparing the amount of volume in terms of like stable coins created, transactions, like Solana is just absolutely killing it. And the main issue it suffers is just like how that value drives back to the token itself, right? There's no like base fee, right? But that's also like the whole point. That's like the whole ethos of Solana. Like it's supposed to be super accessible, super friendly, super fast. And I see more and more developers building on that infrastructure, even in payments, as well as in just fun apps that we can all enjoy and play games on essentially.
So follow-up question: if Solana is more retail focused and Ethereum is more institutional, what's going to happen to the Sheebs of the world and Pepes? I mean, are they in trouble?
I mean, I wouldn't like group it that tightly, right? Because it's still like a permissionless network. It's still like the open internet. It's like saying the internet we use today can only be used for one thing. It's still a general purpose layer of where you can share transaction logic, and it's just an open computer, right? So you can still have these Pepe coins, of course. I guess more broadly, your question is asking like what happens when block space becomes super expensive and super I guess more and more difficult to access. I think that's when like the scaling solutions start to come in, right? And you see tokens start migrating elsewhere where you can get more accessible. You can have more accessible block space and transactions on the likes of like Arbitrum, Optimism, Mode, Starknet, etc.
And Base, I mean, they're obviously having a lot of success within the retail space as well. Edison, what are your thoughts? Ethereum or Solana for the rest of the cycle?
Um, yeah, I think this is a tough one, but what I can say is that I feel like the the value will gravitate back to Ethereum in the bear market after the cycle, in the expectation of ETF, and because during the bull market there'll be a lot more transaction, and then Ethereum just the gas fee is just crazy, and so usually in bull market, I guess alts tend to go up, but in the like when it's back to a bear market, then I think most alt dies, and the value really just gravitate back to Ethereum. And Ethereum right now is becoming more of a settlement layer, especially with this like modular thesis, right? With dataability, you have like a lot of solutions out there, and then of course you have like roll up as a service, even though it doesn't accrue a lot of value in its own if you package it as a product. But I think modular thesis is taking over, and there's just a lot like L2s on like Ethereum, so maybe that's another reason why, not like people not too bullish on Ethereum. I think that's another reason why. Um, I mean, Solana is great, right? I guess after the FTX incident, the Solana price also dropped a lot, and that gives Solana room to grow, and people make money off Solana. So I guess that cult community is back. I think that's another reason why Solana is like outperforming Ethereum in the meantime. So yeah, but Solana is definitely like a great chain. I mean, yeah, I mean I'm staking it right since like last summer. I hold a lot of it, so definitely very bullish on Solana. And I think building, I guess, consumer facing, consumer orientated AI apps on Solana also makes a lot of sense as well, compared to let's say Ethereum, right? So yeah.
Okay,
Also say
but
the Solana community has been there just from the start. They actually never left.
Yeah,
Like maybe like SBF and whatnot. Like he he's obviously not on that chain anymore. But the retail community of like builders still has been there. Like they actually never left. They just all love Solana. And if you were kind of like aware of that, it was probably like the most obvious buy at like $20. And probably I'm not gonna give any financial advice, but I'm very bullish on Solana.
don't worry, guys. Obviously, I preface by saying this is not financial advice. I also have a disclaimer in the video chat. So none of this is financial advice. It's all educational, but it's always good to get your perspectives. And to your point, Caleb, I had Jeff, who's very close to the Solana Foundation. He runs an amazing cohort system for devs that are building REST-based smart contracts, and specifically, on Solana. And this was back in May 2022, I believe, or maybe 2023. Anyways, it was when Solana was really down. And he was saying, look, Solana is still in beta, right? So it can crash 10, 11 times and they come back stronger and better. So to your point, I think that a lot of them kind of manage their own expectations and they stayed and they continue to build. And with new technology coming out, like I hear about Fire Dancer and all these interesting SDKs that they're getting ready to roll out to onboard traditional game developers. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what Solana does here in the near future. But to recap, Edison, you're saying for the rest of the cycle, you're saying Ethereum, although it's pretty close between Ethereum and Solana for the rest of the cycle.
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I'm holding both, so
You gotta pick one. Which one?
for this cycle, Solana, like
Okay.
currently. Yeah.
Got it. You guys are so politically correct. No, but on a serious note, this was a real pleasure, guys. I mean, we talked about from a macro standpoint, talked about regulation, we talked about really low exposure projects, and also touched on Solana versus Ethereum. So overall, great conversation. This was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I hope you all did as well. Please make sure, for those that are watching, give these guys a follow. I included the links to their Twitter, even LinkedIn as well, if you guys are more wanting to connect on a professional level. Gentlemen, I'll give you guys the last word here before we end. Go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, thanks, Mikhail. It's so much fun hopping on these with you, and I'm glad we can, be face to face this go around. Yeah, I mean, I would just say like final words here are just stay bullish. Like I think crypto is still in its like very nascent stages, and there's a lot of surprises ahead that a lot of people are going to maybe be caught off guard by about how powerful these currencies can be. So I mean, as a VC, I always like talking to people building in the space. If you're starting something new, hit me up. I'm down to chat.
Amazing.
Thanks so much, Caleb. Edison?
Yeah, I think the bull market is definitely not over, in my opinion. And builders keep building. I guess keep building.
Can't agree more. Thanks a lot, panelists. And also for those that are listening, like I said, give them a follow. Also, I'll include the link to my community, networkspotlight.io. Make sure to check it out. These are the kinds of conversations we have in the community that I run. So feel free to apply to be part of that community. Give us a like, give us a follow, because we'll be doing these again. And until next time, guys, cheers.